In my left hand at the moment, I have the Seiko Prospex Save the Ocean edition, the 1965 reinterpretation, and there's one fatal flaw. Welcome back to Time on the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name's Harrison, as always, and it's been a while. It's been a while since we've done a normal Time on the Wrist episode, but I thought that this watch deserved its own time in the spotlight, its own Time on the Wrist episode. I am a huge fan of Seiko, and also I'm a huge fan of this watch in particular, and we'll cover that in a second. We'll cover why I'm a huge fan of this watch in particular, but there's just one thing that I can't get my head around. Let's begin by talking a little bit about what this watch actually represents, and also covering a little bit about the specs, and then we'll move on to the point that I'm maybe a bit more hazy about. This specific design is inspired by Seiko's 1965 diver's watch, Japan's first ever Japanese 150-meter diving watch worn by members of the Japanese Antarctic expedition. And this happened in around 1966 until 1969. These specific Save the Ocean editions are inspired by the ice of Antarctica, which is highly visible through the beautiful dials on these watches. And now we get to the bit that I'm very, very proud of from Seiko, the bit that actually hits it home for me. Seiko donates proceedings from the Save the Ocean models to the PADI, Aware Foundation's Marine Debris Program. This is the world's largest underwater cleanup initiative. Listen guys, I didn't start as a watch enthusiast. I actually started as a photographer and videographer. And this issue of global warming has become extremely real to me over the past year, 2 years in particular. I've seen glaciers. I've been to Iceland, I've been to Norway, I've been to some incredible places, and I've seen what we're doing to the world. The fact that this company, that Seiko, is doing something to help the planet is truly heartwarming to me. So firstly, well done to Seiko. And secondly, if other brands are watching this, please take some guidance from Seiko here. I know that Oris also do ocean cleanups, as well as a couple of other brands, but if every single brand in the industry focused on helping our planet, I believe it could be a better place. But anyway, I'm getting totally off topic. Let's talk about the specs of this watch. And actually, they're pretty pleasant specs. The case diameter of this watch comes in at 40.5 millimeters, which is absolutely incredible. Remember that this goes to 200 meters of water resistance. So for a technically diving watch, this is a pretty incredible size, and it actually fits my wrists a lot better than most Seiko Prospexes that are that slight bit too big. I have 6.5 inch wrists, and I would say that 39 to 41 is the perfect size to me, so this is good. The thickness of this model comes in at 13.17 millimeters, I believe, maybe 1.6. Help me out in the comments if I'm wrong, but that's pretty good. Actually, my Omega Seamaster, although it does go to 300 meters water resistance, comes in at about 13.7 millimeters. So it is slightly slimmer than my Omega Seamaster, and I actually wear the Omega Seamaster. So I think that I could pull this off on my wrist pretty easily. And now we get to the weight on this model, according to our trusty scales over here. So the weight on this model comes in at, this is the full link version, no links have been taken out, 180 grams. So it is a little bit more chunky. Having said that, if you look at the bracelet at the moment, I would have to take a good 4 links out of that because it is quite big. The case and the bracelet on this watch come in full stainless steel, and it's predominantly brushed stainless steel. However, on the case of this watch, you do have a line of polish running down the left-hand side and also the right, which kind of highlights those curves on the face, and it wraps around your wrist a little bit nicer, which is a really nice detail. The bracelet on this model is pretty good. It's pretty sturdy and pretty chunky. It kind of almost comes in an oyster bracelet. You've got the middle link that's slightly larger than the outer two. But one thing I'm not as keen on, in Seikos in general actually, I think this is somewhere that they could maybe improve slightly, is this safety latch and the deployment clasp. Although it's a good system, it just seems like a little bit thin. That safety latch is a little bit thin. If they thicken that up just slightly, it'd be really nice. Moving quickly onto the bezel and the face of this model. But before we do that, remember that Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers for Seiko watches. And they've actually just released a new feature on their website. And basically what you can do is take a picture of your wrist with no watch on it, take a picture of it, just nothing there. And then after that, the Chisholm Hunter website will automatically Photoshop the watch onto your wrist so that you can see what size it comes in at, how it looks on your wrist. It's a pretty awesome feature, so make sure you click below if you want to try that. The bezel on this watch is in black, and it has beautiful white numerals that are very readable against that black dip bezel. Remember that this is technically speaking a diving watch, although I would never use it for diving because I'm a bit of a desk diver. The sapphire crystal glass is slightly domed. If you rub your kind of finger just between the bezel and the glass, you can feel that slight incline of the sapphire crystal glass, and it has anti-reflective coating underneath it, but not on top of it, which can be a positive to a lot of people because they feel, or it's not that they feel, it's the anti-reflective coating technically when it's on the front of the glass, it does scratch a little bit more. So by not having it on the front and only having it on the back, it means the glass is technically speaking more durable and doesn't pick up scratches as much. With that said, I have an Omega Seamaster. It has anti-reflective coating on the front of the glass. I've had it for 3 years and it's never scratched. Moving on to the face of this model, which is where it really shines through, which is where you can really see that collaboration between this charity and Seiko shining through, because it's just beautiful. It's stunning. I don't even know what else to say about it. It is stunning. You can see those glacier looking lines running through it in an ice blue kind of color. It's not really deep blue. It is kind of a more natural blue to reflect those icebergs and glaciers. And also there's a couple of other colors of this model. You can actually get a white model, which is pretty cool. Drew and I saw that before. And it's almost like a, I'm gonna say Tiffany blue. I know I'm gonna get shot for that. It's kind of like a Tiffany blue, really light blue color, which actually, although it looks almost fake as a color, I've seen glaciers and they honestly look turquoise. This model also has a date window at the 3 o'clock mark, which is nice, but I would have liked to see it at the 6 o'clock mark. That's just me being picky though. It has pretty large sort of indices, so you can read it pretty easily, and the hour marker and the second hand are not skeletonized. Also, the dial has Super Luminova on it, so you can see in the dark. So let's take a look at that Loom. The Loom on this watch comes in bright green, and I have to say this because it's true. Seiko do pretty incredible Loom for the money. Honestly, I would put this on the same level as some Rolexes, some Omegas. It shines extremely bright in the dark. And now we get onto the movement of this watch, and finally we'll cover the fatal flaw, in my opinion. But before we do that, what is on your wrist today? It's time for the Chisholm Hunter tradition, which of course is the wrist check. I love hearing all the weird watches that you guys come up with. Honestly, the last video that I posted, some of the watches were just absolutely incredible. So let me know in the comments. At the moment, I have the Tissot PRX on, which is awesome. The movement in this model is of course automatic and is the caliber 6R35. It has an approximate power reserve of 70 hours. And this is where we get to the flaw, in my opinion. And I just want to say, before I even cover the flaw, I'm not bashing Seiko in any way. I love what this watch stands for. I'm a huge fan of the measurements of this watch. And actually, I'm a huge fan of the style of this watch, the dial on this watch. But there is one thing. The accuracy on this movement is -15 to +25 a day for £1,100. Just to put that into perspective, the Tissot PRX that I have on my wrist today comes in at roughly £600. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's roughly £600. It's accurate to roughly 0 to 5 seconds a day. Overall, I expected a little bit more from the accuracy of this watch. I did, especially for £1,100, you would expect a little bit more accuracy. But then you need to think that Tissot are using an ETA movement, so maybe it's not a fair comparison. But I do need to say that overall, I'm a huge fan of what this watch stands for. The fact that you're supporting a charity that is making an impact on the world today. The fact that they've textured the dial like this is simply stunning. The specs are, of course, as I said before, really, really pleasant. Seiko are a phenomenal brand, but there's just one flaw, in my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've enjoyed and if you agree, please let me know and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow our Instagram, Chisholm Hunter Watches, for tons more watch content, and we will see you real soon.